course, during that stay there, I'll be making a purposeful stay in Chile to converse with these people that you were saying grunt at their wives.
Yes.
I'll endeavour to open a conversation with them.
Well, I look forward to hearing back from you when or if you make it back.
Well, fair points. Yes. With the amount of thieves that are around, you never know. They may steal all my money or kidnap me for hostage for drug purposes. Who knows? But
you may be sold into the sex trade.
Possibility. I mean, I'd certainly make a few quid for them. But I'll trust the university to protect me sufficiently long enough to get back.
You'd be one of the college boy types, wouldn't you?
I think you're probably right. I think I would be. Yeah.
You know, they'd cut your hair. They'd make you wear white shirt and tie. Pair of shorts, pair of grey shorts.
Ooh.
You know, some knee-length socks, perhaps. Grey knee-length socks.
I'd make a fortune, wouldn't I?
You'd make a killing.
I'd come back not being able to have a shit, but you know, that's the price you pay for your art.
You would be in high demand, I would imagine, Nathaniel, because you know, for all of your faults, and there are many, you're not a bad-looking chap.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Anything else you've been up to this week?
No, that's it. I think that's the closer.
That's it. Okay, let's move on.
Move on. Okay, so now it's time for some current movie news / Hollywood developments for you folks. And Charlie Sheen is to star in upcoming movie A Glimpse Inside the Mind of Charlie Swan III, a fictional account of a successful movie star who goes off the rails and apparently loses any semblance of reality or sanity. Man, that's going to be a real stretch. Director David Twohy has a sequel to his critically mauled The Chronicles of Riddick up his pipes. But before that hits the screens, he has begun work on a self-penned heist movie entitled The Leonardo Job. Seems Dan Brown's influence has spread far and wide, and at any cost some will try to cash in on the multi-million selling shitfest that was the Da Vinci Code. And yeah, that's book and movie, folks. Book and movie.
Jew-baiting actor-director Mel Gibson has begun work on Judah Maccabee, a movie about a notorious historical Jewish warrior. Could it be that the errant star has seen the error of his ways and is trying to make amends? Possibly. Either way, kudos for the chutzpah. Ever considered zombies as existential creatures of deep thought and reflection? Well, neither have we, but that's precisely the concept of well-received novel Warm Bodies by Isaac Marion. The imminent film adaptation has recently announced the casting of one John Malkovich, and I have to say, we're quite looking forward to this one. Okay, this is the part of the show where we talk about a movie on current release, and this week we're going to be talking about Apollo 18. The plot. Officially, Apollo 17 was the final mission to the moon for NASA, but in his found footage movie, we see the reason that even though Apollo 18 actually launched, in secret, nothing was ever revealed about its mission. 2 astronauts arrive on the surface of the moon, and before very long at all, they begin to feel creeped out. Strange noises, odd video footage being automatically recorded, and most disturbingly, unknown footprints in the lunar soil. Following the path, the pair discover a Russian landing vessel and within signs of a struggle. Exploration of the nearby area reveals a cosmonaut dead, apparently by violent means. Will the pair get off the surface, or will they meet the same end as their Cold War rivals? What do you think of it, Nathaniel?
Cracking overview there, Richard. Really kind of summed it up well. I thought it was a corking watch.
Oh, yeah?
I'm aware that it's taken a huge slating from most other critics, which I find perplexing, to be honest. I thought it was a fantastic movie. If I'm trying to see the film through the eyes of a hardened sci-fi fan, maybe that's where I can find the overall criticism. It was very simplistic, Richard.
Right.
There wasn't much to get excited or involved with. If you're a hi-fi
Hardcore sci-fi.
Yeah. You know, there wasn't much. It was very bleak. It was, and if you saw it as a work of fiction, which no doubt some people will, there wasn't much to get your teeth into. But having said that, it really worked for me. I love the fact it was stripped back to the bare bones. There was no fluff.
Yeah.
I really kind of admired that. It took a lot of courage to do that. With such a format, it must have been very tempting to gloss it up a little. And I think the director did well to resist that urge. It's basically all story, and that's all you really need.
Right.
I love the monochrome effects. Obviously, in such an environment, you're not going to get much colour, but that really added to the dripping tension of the movie.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff, Richard.
I mean, you say not much really happened, or that maybe there wasn't enough events occurring for the hardcore sci-fi fans.
Indeed, yeah.
But I'd back that back to you, because something like 2001: Space Odyssey doesn't really get more hardcore sci-fi than that.
It doesn't.
But that's pretty sparse. That's pretty bleak.
You're right, but that carries a certain mystique around it, which is what I thought Apollo 18 just lacked, just a little. It's the harshest criticism you can think of, so I love the movie. But 2001, 2008 and 2010, they were iconic movies.
You're really having to pick nits, aren't you, really, to even
You
make
really
that
you got it.
criticism.
I'm
Is that right?
absolutely nitpicking, yeah.
That's the sense I'm getting from you.
Indeed.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I just found it typical conspiracy theory guff, aimed primarily at the willfully deluded and the mentally bereft.
So it was just a pure work of fiction for you?
Well, you said something, a phrase actually that was quite interesting. You said, if you view it as a work of fiction, which some people will, of course they will.
Well, yes, they're right, they will. Wrongly, in my opinion.
It is a work of fiction.
It isn't.
So the correct response is to view it as such.
No, I completely disagree with you. I know the word conspiracy gets used a lot these days. For me, this isn't even a conspiracy, Richard. This thing happened. And
You honestly believe that people went to the moon and encountered, it's a bit of a spoiler, but encountered alien life?
I'm not saying it wasn't expanded upon, but I certainly encountered something. Which is
some mysterious, vague something.
Some mysterious, vague something, indeed, which is why the Apollo 18 was organised. Because there was a mysterious, vague something, they needed to send another bunch of gerbils up there to find out what that mysterious, vague something was.
What do you mean by gerbils? What, you put some emphasis on that word.
Well, I found, again, I suppose it's another little criticism that comes to mind. There was no real details given about the mission, and surely, okay, you're astronauts, and that's your job is to go to the moon, but surely you'd want to know a little more about the mission, wouldn't you?
I see. So they were ignorant of their true purpose because they were not inquisitive enough. Is that? They
didn't ask enough questions. Absolutely. You're being sent into outer space. Don't you want to know what's going on?
But aren't astronauts military personnel?
I don't know.
You follow orders, don't you?
I don't see them in that guise at all, no. I think that's just you being with your opinions, the way they are. I don't think you just follow orders at all, no.
So it's an extension of the military, so your commander-in-chief comes up to you and says, Sergeant Green, I want you to go on this mission, and I want you to do A, B, and C while you're there. You're going to say, sorry, sir, could you just tell me why?
Yes, I am. Probably.
How long do you think you'd last?
Well, I've never wanted to become an astronaut, Richard, or join the military. That's for idiots.
So you're putting yourself in the place of these astronauts and saying they should behave in this way?
I'm saying they should have asked more questions.
Absolutely preposterous.
You're being sent to the moon. You want a little bit more explanation as to why you're up there.
You do as you're told. You're in the military. You do as you're told.
It's a typical point of view for you there, Richard, but by very virtue that they actually followed that line, they got themselves into all sorts of trouble, didn't they?
Well, no, they didn't, because it didn't happen. People want to believe that the Americans are liars. Well, they are, but not in this case.
So I believe that they're all still alive, happy with their families, munching on cheese sandwiches or something now, do you?
They don't exist. They're actors.
So you believe this mission never ever took place?
It never took place. It's the conceit of a writer and a director. It's no more real than Die Hard 4 was real, when Bruce Willis was hanging on to the wing of a Harrier junket. Did you think that was real?
I didn't, surprisingly enough, no.
Well then.
I think you're sadly misguided and you're sticking your head in the sand, Richard. This is just more evidence that governments have lied and continue to lie to us. Bodies were not found. End
I've got a question.
Story.
I've got a question for you, Nathaniel.
Go on.
Why did they keep their helmets on when they were on the moon's surface? The moon has an oxygen atmosphere.
No, it doesn't.
Of course it does.
No, it doesn't.
They should check their facts, shouldn't they, before making a movie?
It just shows how misguided you are, isn't it?
The moon has an... Have you never seen First Men on the Moon, the 1964 classic?
I haven't, no.
Well, there you go.
Oh, that's the evidence that you're using, is it?
It's watertight.
Is it? Unlike the helmets.
This is the second week in... This is the second week in a row we've watched a movie which has inaccuracies. This week, the moon's got no atmosphere. Nonsense. Last week, that there's a desert in America.
Oh, the desert.
Nonsense.
Yeah. This is quite a high point of the broadcast, if I may say so. I'm sure the listeners are looking forward to next week to see what other bunkum you're going to come out with. I don't know. Maybe the North Pole isn't made of ice. I don't know.
Don't get me started.
Okay.
The North Pole, Nathaniel.
So what are you going to rate it out of 10?
I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry, I beg your
I'm
pardon.
not done yet, young man.
Many apologies.
The homoerotic overtones,
What?
Nathaniel, I felt were completely unnecessary.
Are you going to explain what those were?
Two men together, sleeping together in an enclosed space. There was a bristling sexual tension building up right up until the guy started. I'm not going to reveal why, but the guy started to change. Up until that point, there was some clear indications that some man love might take place.
I don't know what goes on in your head, Richard. I really don't.
It was simply added to satisfy perverts like you.
You're a strange being, Mr. Shittlebob. You really are. There was absolutely no homoerotic overtones in that movie whatsoever. There were two men. Just because there were two men living in a confined space, you think they're going to start bumming?
You're only saying that to deflect the criticism.
Is that right?
It was clear for all to see.
Well, surprisingly enough, I've read about 30 reviews and none